What if now is the time to end the stigma around discussing what so many of us struggle with: stress, anxiety, depression, addiction, PTSD, and more? Too often we hear people say they felt alone before discovering the tools of change at Access Consciousness. That is why we created this series of lives to reinforce the message that you are not alone, and in fact, you are a gift to this world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Marilyn Bradford. I'm an Access Consciousness facilitator and creator of Right Recovery for You, and all of these cool people who are joining me this evening are Right Recovery for You facilitators, which is just, I think they're just the most amazing beings in the world. That's obviously a personal personal point of view, but we're going to talk tonight about some of our experiences with Access Consciousness and the tools and what they've changed for us. And I was looking over my list, thinking about all these things. Emily was mentioning anxiety. And one of the things I realized that before I got to Access, besides having been diagnosed as an alcoholic, which is actually I discovered was not true, but I had a lot of anxiety and depression. And what I learned in Access is, generally speaking, anxiety is because we've bought lies about who we are and who we should be. And what I love about Access is it's all about empowering people to know that they know. It's all about you just discovering and creating who you be. But so often, I was told I needed to get higher education. I was a girl, so I couldn't do this, but I could do that. And I should be a mother, and I should do this. And not a lot of that worked for me. So what do we do when we're told we should be something that just doesn't work for us? We go into anxiety. And I just felt this enormous relief and release when I got to Access. And my first encounter with Access was getting my bars run, which is, 32 points on the head, and they're just gently pressed. And it releases all of these things that we've picked up from other people. There's, body and sexuality, an aging toaster, an implant band, which is everything that we bought that's not ours. So many of the tools that I've used in Access had just contributed enormously to both me discovering I don't have to be who somebody else wants me to be, or the society says I should be, or my culture says I should be. I can be me, and it's so much more fun. And that completely releases all of that anxiety and depression. I mean, if somebody's telling you you're not enough, you can't play football, or you shouldn't be doing that, or you should be doing this, you can't help but just kind of go, ugh. And when you get to Access, you find out that you be you, you change the world, you be you. That's where the happiness comes in, and the joy of it's kind of like us being us. And each one of us is so unique. Access has this thing called the 10 Commandments, and I was looking at them, and one of them is no competition. And I'm like, I'm always asking questions, because that's another thing, but I'm like, what's behind that? And one of the things I realized was, if you're doing competition, you're not acknowledging the unique gift that you are. Because each of us is unique and a gift and different. If I'm trying to compete with Peony or Grace or Ryan or Michelle, then I have to come down and kind of fit myself in their life. Whereas if I'm being me, it's like, and you're being you, how cool. We're like 2, 3, 5 beautiful creations with our each individual and unique gifts that we're bringing to the world. So that's just a few little things from me, and I would love to hear from the rest of you. What are some of the tools you've used or questions you've asked that have really changed things for you or other people? So who's gonna go?
I will.
Yay, Michelle.
So as you mentioned at the beginning, the anxiety thing, when I get into that whole anxious time, I know that that's a good time for me to have my bars run. That's, I can spend the entire day wandering around the house going, I should be doing this. Oh, no, I haven't done this. And I spend most of the day telling myself off for not having done what I should have done, knowing that it would have only taken me like a minute to have done that thing. And then Glenn gets home and I say, honey, run my bars, please. And he runs my bars. We watch a movie while we're running the bars. And the next day, I'm just like, everything's done. Everything's like ease, joy, glory. It's awesome. So, yeah, anxiety is a problem for anyone out there, please, please, please find a bars facilitator, bars practitioner. There's a list of them on the Access Consciousness website. Please go find them. They're amazing. And and you can learn it too and have it in your household and help others as well. But the question that you just asked there is, what questions do you ask? And my favorite question when anything's not working for me is, what would it take to change this?
Yes.
So that question, like any question, is the purpose of a question is to open up a different possibility, open up more awareness.
Yes.
And what would it take to change this is not sitting there going, oh, I'm stressed out. Oh, no, I've got to get this assignment done. Oh, no, the boss is on my head. Oh, no, the kids are screaming again. It's what's it going to take to change it? It's opening up that awareness of, oh, I just need to put Candy Crush down for 10 minutes and get on with it. Or it might be, you know what? The boss can wait. Get the kids sorted. Get the house sorted, especially in this time when a lot of us are spending a lot of time working from home. Mm-hmm. It's how many of you are a lot more efficient when you've got that headspace. Yeah. The kids are sorted. Dinner is in the crock pot cooking. Just now I can work. And you get a whole day's work done in 2 hours. It is possible. And that question of what would it take to change this really helps me.
I love that one too. Absolutely. Because in this reality, it's so normal for people to be stuck and all they're doing is like hitting their head against the brick wall rather than asking a question. Because this reality is all about answer. It's all about experts or parents or cultures telling you who you should be, rather than, hey, who are you? And what would you like to choose today? And what would you like to create today? I mean, it turns everything upside down in a way that creates so much more possibilities for people. So cool. Yeah. Who else would like to say something? Peony?
Yes. Hi, Marilyn. How are you? How are you guys all? I'm so happy to be here to share about access consciousness, the bars. And actually, I remember that before I have a chance to meet up with bars, I have a friend who attended the bars class 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. And after she attended her first bars class, she kept calling me, this is so good. This is so good. This is so good. Okay. And, from my bringing up from Hong Kong and the education and blah, 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 and all the conclusions, I asked for the proof. How good is it? How good? Can you tell me, please? And then she kept telling me, I could not, please. Just is so good. And at that time, actually, I suffered from not able to sleep for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, after my father passed away. And okay, finally, when there was a foreign facilitator coming to Hong Kong, I tell myself, okay, this is the last chance I go to take any class,
Mhm.
And in the very beginning, there are about 20 people in the class. And I was like crossing my arms, sitting back, and let's see what you're going to talk about, okay? And after the first hour, I mean, like chit chat and warm up, and then they start asking questions. And the first questions that the facilitator talked about, that my body could not stop crying, is,
Oh, wow.
what if you being in the world is the gift, is the
Yes.
biggest gift? And that was the very first moment my body and my being got acknowledged.
Yes.
And then my tears just keep running down. I try to control, stop, and, and I try not to breathe, And after the day, I mean, after we finished the VAS class that day, that was the very first time I could sleep when I go back home. I could really sweet and calm and did not wake up throughout the night. And then I still remember the very next day when I woke up, I go to the website, Access Consciousness. What is it? What is it about? Because I study law, so whatever they talk about, I know what is that meant. But I do not get it. What is it? What are you talking about? I don't get it. That is the very first time I kind of come across what is energy. Okay, what is real energy, which is actually beyond the words.
Yes.
Yeah, that is my first change.
So how has your awareness of energy, and for all of you, changed your life? Because I didn't know what energy was either. I mean, we're just taught to do, and that's the only thing that exists, and you can't see energy. You can be aware of it. And most of us are, like, someone's really happy. Oh, I kind of like that happy thing. Or someone's really angry and you're like, I don't think I want to be around that person. But we're not taught to really be aware of energy, and that we can choose to change it, and that we take on energy from other people. I mean, this just made my life go, oh my gosh. Because all of a sudden, if someone was, there was anger or something like that, all of a sudden I would feel anger because we're taking it on. And then I would try to attach it to something. Oh, yes, I'm angry because of this or that. And then I learned, I'm going in two different directions here. But one of them is that wonderful tool, who does this belong to? Oh, it's not mine. It's his. It's hers. Which has just made such a difference, because I didn't have to take on everything I was experiencing because of that tool, who does this belong to? Anyway, I would love to hear, Peony, how has, and all of you, an awareness of energy changed things for you?
And since then, actually, being you is the most attractive thing for me.
Yes.
Because what are you talking about, being you? There is something that is called a being. Can I? What is that? It is actually beyond all the school, university, whatever,
Yes.
And then, wow, the energy of that is so yummy.
Yes.
And it is a universe of the energies, and it is beyond words. And it's a journey of exploration. Yeah, that's true. And it's endless, and it's just so yummy. I mean, like, yeah, you get more happier and happier.
Yes, exactly. Because we're, in this reality, we're very contracted. We don't think we are, but we are. I mean, I know I started out contracted before I got to Access. I bet you all did too. And then you become more and more aware of your being and energy and the universe. And it's like, so much more space and possibilities. And I think that's another thing I wasn't really aware of, that there were actually possibilities. I thought, right or wrong, good or bad. No, so many more choices. Choice was something that I learned in Access. I didn't really know I had choice. And it's kind of hard to describe, but what I was taught is you pick a path and you follow that path and you go to graduate school and then you can do this and that's your life. And if you're stuck, you're stuck, because that's all there is. And when I got to Access, people were talking about, what are you going to choose? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I going to choose? Here's my life plan. Here's what I'm supposed to do. I mean, yeah, maybe I could have been a nurse or I was a teacher but what do you mean I have choice? And all of a sudden it was like, wow, I could be and do anything. And it's that getting free of what everybody else says you should be and do. And once that clears away, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much more. Oh my gosh, I wrote a book in my 60s. I traveled the world. I thought I had no choice but to retire at like 62. I'm 73. I can still going strong and I love it. And that's that there's so much support. This whole thing about being alone. What I find with Access Consciousness is you're not alone at all. There's so much support from other people who are also looking at choices and possibilities. The tools support us. Consciousness supports us. Gary and Day, everybody. And that's when you really, the energy. Being alone is also my sense of people who are not aware of energy, like we were just talking about, because they don't get that if you're really willing to receive the energy, you're not alone. And boy, do I remember being alone when I was anxious and depressed and drinking too much, and none of that was true. None of that had to be. So I'm very grateful. So anything else on that, Peony or Ryan or Michelle or Grace? Yes, Grace.
Oh，当人们现在就是他的成瘾当中的时候，他会跟自己的身体失去连接，就没有办法去感受到周边的能量，或者是他自己整个的能量。那当他跟自己的身体有了更深的连接，然后他意识到他的成瘾的行为的时候呢，
Okay, let me translate first. Okay, she's actually talking about addiction, and she realized that when someone is in addiction, actually there is a disconnection from the body.
Yes.
And with that disconnection, actually that person could not truly sense any energy available.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and whenever that connection builds up again, it's actually more choices is available.
Brilliant. I'm so glad you mentioned the body, because I'd never been, I tried metaphysical things and spiritual things and religion, and nobody ever thought the body had any value. And one thing I learned in Access was how cool the body was. And how fun and how yummy. And so that's a really good point about both addiction and that we have wonderful bodies, and most everything just cuts that off and says that doesn't matter, or that, sex is wrong, or that, just having that yumminess is wrong. So thank you for that, Grace. Thank you. Is there other things? Was there something else you wanted to say, Grace?
当我们的身体的能量更加的就是打开的时候，你会跟你的内心内在有更深的一个连接， 然后你会知道，哎，我现在这个时候，怎样是最好的，然后，你会有一个很大的空间可以打开，你能够感受到所有的对于你有帮助的事情，然后有更多的选择性可以出现，从而生活呢可以变得就是更加的美好。
好，等等，太长了，等等。OK, I wish I could remember. Okay. Yes, when the body could receive even more energies,
Yes.
actually, it is the inner opening is deepened, and when that occurs, more possibilities can be explored. And with that more possibilities being explored, actually the life could become greater and better.
Yes. I mean, one thing I've noticed with COVID, we access consciousness, we have the bars we talked about. We also have all these hands-on body processes that they're not healing people. They're activating the person's own energies to create change in the body, more fluidity, more, and my body is so much greater now at 73 than I was when I first started 15 years ago, because I'm connected with it, and I have more energy, and I'm walking every day, and I'm okay with, traveling. Well, we can't travel much internationally, but with COVID, so it's just that including the body, honoring the body, really, it has made a huge difference to me. How about you all?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Those body processes are phenomenal.
Yes. Well, let me put you on the spot, Ryan. What's your favorite tool? What has changed for access with you or facilitating other people?
Wow, a lot of things have changed. I think one of the tools that I would like to share is actually a question. What if you didn't have to get it all right and all perfect?
Oh, yes. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's that is creating the anxiety for most people, for a lot of people. Like I remember before Access, long time ago, like when I was trying to get everything perfect and all right. Let's say if I need to go on stage to present something for like 15 minutes, but it could make me like feeling anxious for 3 days before. Like, oh my God, what do I need to say? Like, how do I get it all right? How would people judge me? What would they think? So that was me like long time ago, and I found Access about 10 years ago, and at that time actually I've heard a few things about energy, but when I first started, I couldn't feel energy. I was a very, I would say, mental person. So everything is about like how to make it all logical. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So
I don't think so.
I still remember this when I was in my first bars class. Like I saw everyone was like, "Wow, I could feel the energy. It was so amazing." And then I look at them like, "Are you all serious? Like, what is this about?" Or maybe in my mind, actually, I was thinking, "Are you all insane?" So,
What are you talking about?
but at the same time, I was like making myself wrong. Like, I just didn't get it. Like, why am I not feeling the energy? But one thing that I'm very grateful for myself was that I didn't give up. So
Yes.
even though I didn't feel energy, I didn't know what I was attending, what I was learning, but I kept going and I kept practicing. And I still remember this. There was one experience that like changed my life. So one day, so that was 10 years ago, I was running bars for my sister. And then when I was running bars, in my mind, I was still like, I'm still not sure what I'm doing. But suddenly I felt a sense of like gratitude and peace. And then at that moment I was like, whoa, I didn't know where that came from, but that gave me that sensation of like, wow, this is real. Like I have never felt something like this before, and this is what I would like to see more on this planet.
Yes. And people may not know this, but when you change your energy and allow yourself to receive and experience like that gratitude and peace like you did, Ryan, you change the world just with that. It's not like it just stays in your space, it's like, so that's very cool.
Yeah. At first, I wouldn't believe that. I would be like, yeah, it's just my personal experience. What does that have anything to do with anyone else? But now I realize whenever one person changes something, like it actually inspires a lot more other people, even though they will never tell you.
Yes.
You will never get the feedback from them, so you will be in your own world thinking that, oh, whatever you are being or doing is not a contribution to other people. Until maybe, let's say 3 years later, and then you saw that person like telling you like, oh, do you know, like 3 years ago, whatever that you said, that it changed my life so much. So this is something that I have seen again and again. Okay, so don't look for like proof that you actually did something good.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you never know how it's going to show up, but it does. It does. That's very cool. Thank you. Anything else?
So, Marilyn, there's a question in the Facebook chat, and I'm wondering if you could speak to this.
Sure.
It's from Samantha. I had my bars run, and my life has been an upheaval ever since. The energy was unbelievable. It's like I felt my heart beating all over my body. Afterwards, I was incredibly relaxed. I'll admit to be experiencing possibly the deepest depression ever since then. It's been weeks. I want to understand what's going on.
So first question is, whose depression is it?
Great question.
Because that's the thing. When we get our bars run, we expand our awareness. We expand our capacity to be aware of other people's universes. How many people are depressed because of COVID? They're fearful. They know someone who has it. They're listening to all this misinformation and media, and it's just terrible, it's terrible. So many people in my town are depressed and fearful that I have to spend every day going a little bit, who does that belong to? Whose depression is that? So I would encourage you to really keep asking that, is this mine? Now, I'll tell a little side story. When I first started using Access, I had a regular, more or less regular, I was never really a regular psychotherapist, but I'm licensed and all of that, but I was much more interactive than a lot of people are as therapists. But I had someone who had, a really big depression. Now, she had all kinds of crazy stuff going on in her family and her friends. And I said, well, could that be? No, it's mine. I was, well, who else could it be? No, it's mine. I know it's mine because I can really feel it. And she would never let go, never really grasp the idea that she could be picking up something from somebody else. And she ended up leading a pretty miserable life. So, because she just had this really solid grabbing onto it fixed point of view. And that showed me a lot for myself. Anytime I was going to, that has to be mine. I'm like, really, Marilyn? Really? Maybe it could be somebody else's. Who else could that be? So I really want to encourage you to ask, is this mine? And see if it lightens up at all. If it lightens up at all, it's not yours. Because you, as an infinite being, are most likely not depressed. The other thing I would say is sometimes what happens when you get your bars run for the first or second or third time is it activates a lot of things that you've taken on as limitations that aren't really you. And that can be kind of like, wah! So I would say expand out right now. Let your being expand out at least a foot beyond your body. because your being is greater than your body. Your being is not in your body is in your being. Now expand out your being to fill the room. You don't even have to ask how. It just does it. And expand out your being to fill the house or the apartment, wherever you are. And just get the sense that you're not this contracted. Your being can go out and out and out, and expand out your being to fill a few blocks around your house. You can do it. You can do this anytime, any place you start feeling contracted or crazy, because that's another one of the reasons that things seem like this is you've got this enormous amount of energy and things going on, but you're putting it in this tiny little space because no one's ever told you that your being is so much greater than that. So I would really encourage you, just keep, practice this. And sometimes you just have to practice stuff. Practice this. Get yourself in a nice, quiet space. Start with expanding your being just a foot or so, or I don't know if you're a metric. I'm not so good on metrics. Half a meter. And just keep going with that. And know that you're not crazy and you're not wrong. And there is a space of you where there's a stillness that does not have to identify or solidify all of this stuff. It will pass. So just keep expanding out and asking, is this mine? Who's crazy around me? Which, probably a lot of people. So, and I would get your bars run for sure. Again, just keep going. And I love what Ryan was saying. I didn't know it was, but I just kept going. I think that's true for a lot of us. Sometimes you're looking for a logical answer or to understand it, which means to stand under something. But if you let that go and just go, okay, what's the next step? And what's the next step? And what else could I choose? And if I wasn't making this significant, what would I be aware of? That's a tool I use all the time. When I find myself clutched onto something, I go, okay, if I wasn't making this significant, what would I be aware of? Because anytime we make anything really significant, we cut off all of our awareness. So I hope that is a contribution. And now I can't remember who it was. I think it was Ryan, when you were talking about perfectionism and getting it right, which I think is something a lot of us have gotten hung up on. And one of the greatest tools for me in Access has been this idea of letting go of all judgment. It's just been huge. I thought I motivated myself through judgment. Well, you're not doing it right. So, and my mother used to say to me, I only tell you what's wrong with you so that you can change it. That's kind of this reality. But if you really allow yourself to not judge yourself, not judge what's going on, there's just this space. And I know it's hard for many people. I always say, give yourself 1 hour of not judging anything, a judgment-free hour. And if a judgment comes up, say, I'm sorry, you have to wait till noon because I'm not judging till noon.
You know what, Marilyn? The first time I tried doing that judgment-free time, I remember there was a facilitator really early on when I first started using the Access tools, and she was promoting, judgment-free days, and I was like, judgment-free day, really? And then I was like, oh, maybe I could do 5 minutes. And I gave it a go, and I sat there, and as you said, no, go away. No. And I tried it several times throughout several days. And then at one point, I was sitting there going, I wasn't cognitively doing the judgment-free thing. And I was sitting there going, there's something wrong. What's wrong? I don't know what's wrong. I don't know this feeling. What am I aware of? What and suddenly I got the awareness of I wasn't judging, and it was so different, and the world was so different, and I just had never really experienced that space of no judgment before. And and you know, the whole 3 days of Who Does It Belong To can also give you a sense of that as well. And it just that space of, wow, the world actually isn't as bad as I thought it was.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
And so I'd just like to say, you know, if the Who Does It Belong To for 3 days or the No Judgment Day idea is like, yeah, right, that'll never happen in your world, I totally get it. And yeah, try 1 minute
Yes,
of it.
try 1 minute. Yeah.
And just see what it is a muscle, and it is something that we are so indoctrinated in this reality to judge and to be judged, and we've never been taught that we're aware of other people's stuff. So it's something that we need to practice it's a new muscle. Just keep giving it a go.
And it's so much freedom to not judge. We think there's nothing there if we don't judge, but that's actually opening the doorway to being aware. You cannot judge and be aware at the same time. And awareness is just so much greater than judgment. Judgment is like thunk, whereas awareness is, what is it? What's going on? What am I aware of? I mean, that has just changed everything for me. Just been amazing.
I would like to share something very interesting for me.
Yes.
Especially actually with my background, was studying law and being a solicitor years ago. And I have to go to the court, you know, go in front of the judge.
Ah.
Okay.
The judge of judgment.
Yes. And actually until that point of time, I mean, like after I joined Access or starting attending classes, I start wondering actually what the judge actually is doing in the courtroom. And actually what because the judge is actually paid, and it's kind of like, wow, it's a so reputable or honorable job, you know, with so much profession and experience, and with good credit, so that guy or a woman could be selected as the judge. Okay. Well, actually suddenly at a point of time, I just realized, you know, from 9 to 5, the judge has to be in the courtroom.
Yes.
And he is the one who appears to be so powerful.
Yes.
Or who is the one who knows what is the true and not, based on
appears
the
to. Yes.
Actually, yeah, you know, actually all those statements are just the points of view and stories.
Yes.
And
I love it.
Actually, yeah, you know, actually, and finally, until a point of time, you know, we will see, like from movies or the TV shows, like those who are defendant, who are being sued, in behind the bar, while it appears to be the one who being locked. Well, actually, it's the judge who is doing the paid job, being locked in the courtroom.
Yes.
And
yes.
and
Wow.
it's just explode my mind while after I got so much different awareness. Instead of so-called, oh, you know, being a judge is such a good job, or, you know, while everyone is looking up, something like that.
Well, we buy all those stories as real and true. This is the expert. We should honor this person. Why? That's not a question. I think that's really cool, Peony. You just, boom, got an example of how insane some of this stuff is. Yeah. That's that. Yeah. And that's what I get a lot of that from Access too. When someone says, well, this person is really a blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, really? What could I be aware of? So yeah. What other professions? Who are all the? I mean, I've really learned to question who are all the people that I decided were greater than me, or always knew more than I did, or anything like that, because society said they did. And it's not about resisting and reacting or putting anybody down. It's about, who are they really, and what's going on here, and what do I know? And it's really about that, actually becoming that question with everything in our lives, because that gives us so much. You really get a lot more than most people do who don't know the power of a real question, to question everything. Yeah, not to come to conclusion. That doesn't work either. But to just keep, what is this? And there's one thing in Access, that there's 4 questions when anything comes up like you just have no idea. What is it? What can I do with it? Can it change? And if so, how do I change it? I use that a lot. I find that's really, really helpful. Okay, anyone else have any favorite questions or anything else they would like to say?
When you were just saying about the, who have you decided is knows more than you? In my world, teachers were always the ones that knew more. Examiners knew more. Lawyers, all of that thing. At age 9, my son knew more than his maths teacher. In fact, he was given a principal's award at the school assembly for correcting the teacher's maths. Now, this woman was the head of the maths department of the school.
Wow.
And my 9-year-old was correcting her maths. So, what if you actually know more than you've been acknowledging?
Yes. Or anyone else has acknowledged for you.
Yes.
What if that's not a wrongness? Yeah. What if you don't have to shut yourself down or allow? I mean, I think it's very cool if he got an award, because I think in most schools he would have been kicked out or shamed, or, you can't teach a teacher that way, all of that kind of crazy stuff. So yeah, we know things that we don't acknowledge, and we don't get acknowledged for knowing. So that's very cool. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes, Peony?
For me, is who does it belong to? Is it yours?
Yes.
Yes. When I was being asked, is it yours? It's like there is a automatic assumption. Everything that I perceive truly belongs to me or is mine, especially the fulfilling emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't realize until I really go into Access that we just, the humanoids, like the sponge, right? And we're just truly that quick to be able to perceive, while if we don't have the space of asking a question, there is actually no room, and just automatically, okay, that's mine.
Right.
And so automatic.
And then you act as if that's true.
Yes.
Yeah. You pick up somebody else's depression, it has to be mine. And then you go get antidepressants. It's not even your, and you're they don't work. Well, they don't work because it's not yours to begin with.
And I still remember that in my secondary school too, probably. And suddenly in the break time, after 3 lessons and then we go to the break, suddenly the teacher on the playground catch me. You are such a cynical person. And then I was shocked. Because suddenly in the break time, people are just having a rest or go to play. Suddenly the teacher go to you so serious, you are so wrong. You are such a cynical student. And and then from that point onwards, I keep thinking what behaviors that make the teacher have that impression. And from that point of time, I kept trying to correct me from all areas. And surely that's why access and questions truly saved my life.
Yes. Yes, because we buy what someone's criticism of us, which is just their crazy point of view. But we buy it as true because she's a teacher, she's a doctor, she's a judge, she's a whatever. Well, that's thank you for that, Peony. I think we've all experienced something like that, where we bought somebody's negative point of view about ourselves and kept it with us forever, even though it was just their point of view and had really nothing to do with us. And, people, there's a saying in Access that people always accuse you of what they themselves are doing. So she was probably the cynical one, but, nobody tells us that. So, it's just so much. Access is about empowering you to know that empowering you to be you, to create you, to choose more, I've never experienced anything that's as expansive or joyful or as empowering or as Access consciousness and the tools of Access. It's just phenomenal. So I would like to thank you all for being here today. And also, this is Suicide Awareness Month, and Access Consciousness bars facilitators and regular facilitators are offering free bars clinics and bar session. This is a great time to jump in and get your bars run for free. And you can find that on the Access Consciousness website. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that. How does it get any better than this? So thank you all again for joining me and for your contributions. I just think you all are just wonderful, the tops. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. And you have been such an inspiration for all of us. And if anyone hasn't come across Marilyn's book, Right Recovery for You, I highly recommend it.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, everyone.
谢谢。